The following episode of Dad vs. Daughter was made possible by a contribution from Simon. And today, my gaming buddies and I are going to sit down and play a very piratey-oriented game. It's called Rum and Bones Second Tide. It's from Simon. And this game has a ton of really cool minis. It's got a lot of big boards. If you saw our unboxing episode, you know that this is just chock full of components. So let's see what Dad and his gaming group think, as Rum and Bones Second Tide is our game of the week. As you can see, this game takes up an entire table. But that's okay, because this is a grand pirate battle where we're battling between two ships here from Maria de la Muerta and the Deep Lord's ship, which is kind of, I'd say Kraken-lookish. You know, you've got the tentacles there and everything. So basically what you're going to be doing is you have heroes on each side of each team, and you also have crew. Now, I've populated the board with the starting crew, and you can see that we have 4 crew in each of the objectives where we start, and then we have 4 crew over here for the other team. The tokens here represent the spawn points. So when we activate our crew, we're actually going to spawn the crew on these spots. The Maria de la Muerta, they have 4 spawn points, but they're only going to use 3 of them on any given turn. Now, I'll talk about how the crew moves in a minute, but I want to show the score track here and explain how that works. Okay, so you can see that there are several tracks here. This is our victory point track, and it goes all the way up to 8. This is our Kraken pool. Now, this is a Kraken pool for one team, and this is the Kraken pool for the other. And certain things will cause that Kraken pool to increase, such as playing cards. Once we get done with the turn, we do a check for the Kraken to see if it comes out or not. And what we will do is each team will roll a die, and whatever the Kraken pool is, so let's just say they're at 3 and that one is at 2. As long as we roll higher, we're okay. The Kraken doesn't come out. But if we roll equal to, in this case, we have 5. So if we roll 5 or less, the Kraken is going to come out. Now, when the Kraken comes out, we take the Kraken board and we will place it on that spot right there. And then the Kraken is going to do basically what the Kraken does. So I'll show you the Kraken card here. So you can see it's really pretty cool. So it says, when the Kraken is deployed, deal 3 damage to all heroes whose Kraken pool has the highest, basically, token level, or to all heroes in case of a tie. Now, how it attacks is based on this. So if you roll a 1, 2, or 3, it's going to do this type of attack, the Rampage. If we roll a 4, 5, or 6, it's going to do a Tentacle Crush. So you can see in the case of the Rampage, it says target all zones in range, and then the range is 1. So when we look at the board here, that would mean these 3 spots here on the board. It would be the 2 gangplanks, and then these 3 spots on this ship as well. Now, the reason why I say only those 3, the ones that are diagonal, those are actually 2 spots away. Whenever you measure distance, you always measure orthogonally. So for him to hit here, that would be 1, 2. And that's the same with movement and everything else. Now, we can also attack the Kraken, and if we do, if we kill it, we're going to get 3 points, 3 victory points, and 2 money. But you're going to see it takes 16 in order to kill him. Now, whenever we damage him, now the Kraken's effect here goes into effect. The Fury of the Locker, where you have to roll a die, activate the Kraken, and on a roll of 6, it gains +1 to this roll and for every 3 damage on it. So, yeah, when you damage the Kraken, he's going to get mad. So going back to the player board, we are going to alternate turns. So whoever was the first player at the end of the round, then this marker is going to slide over, and the other team will be the first player. Now, when I say teams, that's because the game is actually played with either 2 up to 6 players. You still have 2 teams, so the book actually lays out how you go about splitting up the teams. So as you can see, there's a section here in the rule book that says playing with 3 to 6 players. 3 players use 2 versus 1, 4 is 2 versus 2, 5 is 3 versus 2, and 6 is 3 versus 3. Not difficult to figure out. And then with each one of those different player counts, it gives you basically the alternative ways to get things set up and certain things you play. It tells you like the number of heroes that each person controls and so forth. Because normally in a 2-player game, you are going to control 3 players apiece plus the crew. So if you think of the crew as kind of an extra player, that's 4 apiece. And you alternate turns. So whoever the first player is, they will activate either a hero or the crew. They'll do their turns, or they'll spend their action points for that, and then play will pass over to the other team or the other player, and they will choose and activate a hero or their crew and take their action points and then bounce back until all crew and heroes on both teams have been activated for a round. Let's take a little closer look at the heroes for each team. So starting with the Deep Lords, we have Kyria and Karl. Now they are kind of a twofer because basically Karl is the little cannon there. We have Ishmael, who is the brute. We have Waldorf, who is the accused wanderer. We have Karakias, who is the captain, the Red Tide. We have Snapjaw, who is the blade master of Tortuga. He's the swashbuckler. And then we have our crew card. Now, both teams are pretty even as far as the different characters and heroes that they have. So you can see for Maria de la Muerta, we have Viana, who is the captain, the avarice seeker. We have El Latigo, who is the cruel taskmaster. We have DeMarco, who is the blade dancer and must be a romantic because he's got a rose in his mouth. We have Gabriela, the alchemist queen. We have Don Santiago, the fish lord, who is their brute. And then finally we have their crew. Now, let's take a closer look at the cards. So we're looking at Snapjaw, and you'll notice we've got the type of character he is. He's a swashbuckler. We have his name. We have his little mini here, which looks really cool, which is why this is from Cool Mini or Not. And then we have his different attacks. Now, his player board actually starts with certain things here. It's like this is a basic attack. There's nothing there, so you match up the card with that spot. So we just place that right there. This one, you actually have to pay 3 in order to get that card. And then here is another one that costs nothing. And so you start with putting the card on there, and then you'll notice it says no effect until level up. So it costs 3 to level up. Whenever you level up one of their abilities, you flip the card over from level 1, and then now you'll see this is level 2. So the ability here should be a little bit better. So let me talk about what it means to do the attacks. Okay, so in Snapjaw's case, his basic attack is the biting blades. So we look and we see here that we're going to be rolling 3 dice during his attack. 3s or better are going to be hits, and the distance for the attack is 1. Now, his basic attack says increase your Kraken pool by 1 before rolling. This attack gains plus 2 dice. So then in that case, we would roll 5 dice, but we're going to increase the Kraken pool. So that's, if the Kraken's already out, it doesn't matter. You could go ahead and do that. But if you want to make sure that the Kraken is not coming out, you might want to watch that a little bit more carefully. And then you can also see that it's going to cost 4 in order to upgrade this to level 2. So then we would just flip this card over. Whoops. Grab a hold of it here. So you'll see it's still the biting blades, but it's a level 2. So now we're starting with 4 dice instead of 3. Still hit on 3+, and still a distance of 1. Increase your Kraken pool by 1 before rolling. This attack gains plus 1 die and may re-roll any misses. So you can see once you get that upgraded to a level 2, that's a lot better attack. Now, certain heroes like Viana have a built-in an ability. So hers is this tariff. So you can see it says, when Viana activates, steal up to 1 gold from any enemy hero and place it on a friendly hero. If you have less victory points than the enemy, then steal up to 2 instead. So every time she activates, that is going to occur. Now the crew card is a little bit different because you don't actually get to upgrade their abilities as far as the basic attack, but they do have bosuns and deck guns, and those are possible to be upgraded when you destroy the matching objectives on the ship. And when you do, you have, so if we destroy the section that has the bosun upgrade, we take this bosun upgrade card, and then now we're going to place it on that spot on the crew card. So you can see we're rolling 2 dice for each bosun, hits on 3+ and a range of 1. So we put this here, and it's still the same ability, but instead of having nothing, then we now have this added ability, this upgrade. It says, when the crew in this zone attack, you may increase your Kraken pool by 1. Hits a 5+, deal 2 damage. So you're going to hit on 3 or better for 1 hit, but if you do this upgrade, then on a 5 or better, you're going to deal more damage. So I mentioned how you can upgrade the bosun and the deck gun for the crew. The way you do that is by destroying those objectives. So here is the objective that upgrades the deck gun on the Maria de la Muerta. So if the Deep Lords destroy this, they're going to get 1 victory point, 2 gold. They flip this over because it's health of 6, so they beat that. Flip it over to show that that's been done, and then they'll be able to place that upgrade on their crew card. The other one is up here for the armory, where you can upgrade your bosuns. Now, these other ones may or may not have any abilities. So the captain's chest, it's going to get you 3 victory points and 4 gold if you are able to defeat it, but it's not going to grant any other abilities. And here's where they are on the Deep Lord ship. You'll see kind of the same. It's the ammo reserves here is going to allow you to upgrade the deck gun. The wheel is going to allow you to draw 3 tide cards, and I'll talk about those in a minute. You have your main mast, which does nothing, and then the rigging line, 1 hero moves up to 5 spaces, or 5 zones. So that's really powerful and moving. And let me talk about the player movement. So I'm going to use Ishmael as an example. Ishmael is our brute, and you'll see he kind of looks like a whale. If those of you who know the story of Moby Dick, the great white whale, the book starts off as "Call me Ishmael." So what we're going to do is we are going to activate him, and we are going to deploy him to one of the deployment zones here. So let's just say I deploy him there. Now I have 3 action points. I can move 2 spaces for 1 action point, which would be 1, 2. I could attack, and I'll set that up here in a minute and show you. But let's say that I wanted to get over to their ship a lot faster. I can do what's called a rigging. So what I need to do is I need to be along the edge of my ship that I wish, or any ship that I wish to rig from. So the movement I can actually break up. So let's just say I spend 1 activation or 1 action point to move him 1 space. Now I'm going to do a rigging check because I want to rig basically over to this ship. And let's just say, let's flip that back over. Let's just say that I want to rig to this spot here. I count up the distance. I count this space. You'll notice it's got a dotted outline. I can't actually move onto that space, but I can rig over it. So my distance is 1, 2, 3. So what I have to do is I have to roll a 3 or better in order to have a successful rigging. So let's just roll the die and see what happens. So I rolled a 4. I have a successful rig. So I go 1, 2, 3. And that is 1 action point for my movement because I moved and rigged. Now, let's just say that I had started my turn here, if I can stand him upright. Then what I can do is I can rig and then move. So let's just say that I wanted to rig to that spot. I rolled a 4, so I'm able to rig there. Now I can move 1 space. So I could move here. Now I could actually run my attack. So my attack for him is 4 dice, and I hit on 4s or better. and I have to be within one distance, which I am. I roll the dice, and you can see I only rolled one that was greater than 4. So I rolled one hit. So what I'll do is I'll put a marker on that objective to show that now I only need 5. I also have one more action that I can do. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to attack that again. So grab my 4 dice, roll them, and again I only rolled one hit. So I'll put another hit token there. Now anyone that comes along from my crew can also still attack that, or I should say one of my heroes, just to alleviate any confusion. And they're only going to need 4 in order to take that out. So now that his activation turn is done, then play would pass over to the Maria de la Muerte team. So since all heroes pretty much act the same, I'm not going to go into the other ones. You got a good idea of how that works. But the crew works differently, so let's talk about them. When we activate crew, we are actually going to be spawning new crew. So let's say that it is the Deep Lord's turn. So the first thing that we do is we deploy deckhands. We deploy 2 deckhands to each of the activation points. So there's a good look at the deckhand. And we can tell they're deckhands because they have a square base. So I will put 2 on this activation spot. I will put 2 here. And I will put 2 here. Now, in addition to those 6 deckhands, I also get to place 2 bosuns. Now, the bosuns have the round base, and I can place those in any of these. So I'll just place a bosun here, and I'll place a bosun there. Now the crew is going to move. So let's pretend that the other crew had already moved up, and they're right there. Actually, let's put them on the gangplank. So the crew all move and attack. And when you attack a zone, not a specific miniature. So in this case, this set of crew is going to attack this zone. So there are 4 of them. So I will get 4 dice, because if I look at my crew card here, it will say gains 1 to hit if there is a bosun in this zone. But I'm going to roll 1 per deckhand that I have there. I hit on a 4 or greater and a distance of 1. So let's say I go ahead and I roll. And of course my rolling today is absolutely horrible. I land 1 hit, so I will eliminate 1 of their deckhands. And there is actually an order for a priority order when you attack an area. Basically the deckhands are fodder. They always take the first hits, then the bosuns, then heroes if they're in that quadrant. The other thing with my crew now, from that activation point, they move over here, and they always move basically on rails. Their movement is predetermined. These guys are going to go in that direction. These 2 will then move to the mast. These 4 move there, and then these 3 move like that. The other thing I can still do with my crew is I can use my deck gun. So the deck gun has unlimited range, but I can't shoot at the deck features, the objectives. I'm going to be rolling 4 dice. I hit a 4 or greater, and like I said, unlimited range. So let's say with my deck gun, I decide to try to take out these guys here. I pick up my 4 dice, I roll, and I missed completely because my gunner is blind. So those guys are good. The crew is all done with their activations and they're attacking. And just like any hero, once it's done, play passes back to the other team. Okay, using this same scenario, let's look at this a little different. Now, when crew attacks, they don't have to spend all of their attack going against one other section here. They could actually break this attack up. So let's just say that I only want these 2 guys to attack here. So I will roll these 2 dice, and I hit for 1. So I'll go ahead and I'll remove that. Now I want these 2 guys to attack that hero. Whoops. And they miss. So I just want to point out that you can attack multiple zones. Now let's talk about the tied cards. Now each team is going to have a deck of cards, and these are going to be drawn up to a hand of 3 at the end of each round if you've played any cards. You'll start with a hand of 3. So let's just take a look at these, kind of show you what different abilities they have. First, they're going to tell you what they are, and then they tell you when these cards activate. So this card activates, it says when a friendly hero makes a rigging check, and then if the ability is the hero gains this, or the hero passes this rigging check on a 2 or better. So that's pretty good. Other cards, it says anytime. Here we have a card here that it says when a friendly hero activates, but you'll notice it's got 2 of the Kraken pool symbols down there. So when we play this card, we actually increase our Kraken pool by 2. There are other ones that have only 1. There's another one with 2, some that don't have any. Others, this says after an enemy hero attacks, the hero must re-roll all their hits. And then you can play as many cards as you want on your turn. There is one specific card that I do want to show you. And let's see where that one is. This one right here. So the Sea Monster Attack. So each of the team's decks has one of these cards in there. And it says, start of turn, instead of activating a hero or crew, you're going to deploy 1 sea monster and then immediately activate that sea monster. Now, the way the sea monster works is he has his own tile. So you can see if he can be attacked, he's got 8 health. He will give 1 victory point, and he will also give 3 gold. Now, he also has his own player card, because essentially for the rest of the game, whoever deployed that sea dragon is going to get this card, and he's going to act basically as another hero on your turn, although he is not considered a hero. So you'll see that he has different things. He's got a Devouring Maw, he's got Destroy the Gangplank, and then he has Dangerous Waters. But it says when you deploy the Sea Dragon into any sea zone, the Sea Dragon may only move into sea zones. Now the sea zones are represented by the dotted lines. The crew cannot go into those. If they do a rigging check and they fail, they will actually fall into that sea zone. If there's no sea monster there, no problem. If it's crew or a bosun that gets pushed into a sea zone, they're actually dead. But let's just take our hero here. So let's just say this hero did a rigging check, and from this position, and they were trying to rig to there, it would be 1, 2, 3. And let's just say that they rolled a 2. Then they failed. They basically fall into the water. Nothing really happens. They are going to lose the rest of their turn, and it's basically them climbing back up on board the ship. Now, if there was a sea monster there, and they fell in there, and let's just say that the Maria de la Muerta team controlled the sea monster, then this sea monster is actually going to do some damage to it. And we look on the card here, it says Dangerous Waters. When an enemy hero is knocked overboard while within 3 of the dragon, deal that hero 4 damage. So her ability, or her health, is only a 6. So that would knock her down to 2 if she was at full health. If she already, say, had 3 damage, that would actually KO her. Now, when a hero is KO'd, the opposite team is actually going to get 3 gold and 1 victory point. In the case of the Sea Dragon or the crew KOing a hero, they are only going to get, I think, 1 gold and a victory point for that. Okay, so when a player takes damage, what we're going to be doing is we are going to be placing these little blood drops on them to indicate for each damage. So she has a health of 6. So let's just say that she takes 2 there, and then another attack, she takes 3 hits. So she's only 1 away from being KO'd. So let's just say that somebody comes along and they do another 3 damage. So now what we do is we remove their figure from the board, put it back on their player card here, and we take one of these tokens. If she has already activated, then we leave it on this side. If the player has not activated, we're going to have it on this side. When we go through our recovery phase, any player that has this medallion on this side, we're going to flip it to there, and then basically it's going to show that they have been activated for the next turn. They're going to set that one out. Then in the following recovery phase, we will remove that completely. They're ready to be deployed again. Also, then they get to keep any gold that they have, but we take all the damage tokens off of them and they're good to go. So that's a high-level overview on how you play Rum and Bones Second Tide. So I recently played this with my local gaming group, and I was able to capture some video during that gameplay. So let's sit back and watch kind of how the game unfolds.
So I'm rolling in the zone where you got your captain and
So our brute is getting ready to push their guys right here into a sea monster.
Missed.
And it's a hit.
It is?
It's a hit. Three's a
Three.
hit.
Oh.
So you got one.
Well, there's two
You
hits.
got two.
All right.
hits.
So,
Did you roll four?
so
or
what
three?
happens?
Four.
So basically, I would just say goodbye to your brute.
2 damage on this guy,
Sea monster right there.
and then he
And
falls in the water and takes
This
4 more.
brute just pushed
8, 9.
those guys.
Yeah, yes.
One of them.
So 9.
It's two.
So two
and
into
then-
the zone.
And then into the monster, right?
2 plus 4 is 6, plus 7 is 13.
Captain is dead. So somebody got pushed in.
Yes.
His brute.
His brute.
Your brute got pushed in.
Yeah.
And that's one.
Then the sea dragon ate him.
So
Now we're going to
you're
do the same
attacking
thing again. Yep.
I should turn it around.
2 hits.
Three hits.
Three hits. Sorry, 3 hits.
So that's 3 damage. And then
Does
pushed
he get pushed
overboard.
in? So another 4.
And
He's
so you
dead.
killed the captain.
You're
So
brute.
this guy gets
He
pushed
is
into the
a
sea
brute.
monster and gets eaten.
That's all right. They almost killed
I
me.
believe
too.
it goes nom 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 nom.
I've only got 2
I
health
think
here.
he did go num 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 num.
No,
No, he hasn't been
it
activated.
hasn't activated yet.
Oh, yeah.
Now, what I could have done is I could have used this overhead smash and healed for every
We're getting
So he's out
trashed.
for. So he's
plus
out for
1
two
for every 3 on me.
He's out for 1 turn.
You
So
did
this
notice-
turn,
So you have one
So what
activation
happens
left.
when you...
Yes,
So,
effectively.
He'll
He'll come in next turn.
Do
He
they
misses
get
this
Do
turn.
they get credit for the KOs?
Yes.
Okay, so you get
So
2 more victory
Do you
points
have one
and
activation
6
left,
gold.
or did you attack
No,
twice?
no, that was just 2.
You get 6 gold.
Okay, 6 gold. I also get 1 more move. I've got 1 more
So you
action.
can activate or upgrade.
I can upgrade. Can you upgrade
He
immediately?
gets 3 moves.
Yes.
Yeah, you can upgrade immediately.
What's better, this one or to flip one of these over?
Michael, your question.
I'll let you decide that.
So if they've activated this round, it would go to this.
All right.
At the beginning of next round, it goes to that, and then comes off. So you
Okay,
sit
so-
out 1 round.
So the green guy's out.
Green guy's out. And this one
that was
hasn't
level
activated
2.
yet, so she only
It was
sits
just
out
this
round.
push heroes up was the
she'll be
same
in the
thing
next
though, right? So what's the difference with this one? Oh, I can move there if it's empty. So I can't move. This was level 2.
All right.
So I'm gonna upgrade.
Nope. You want to go ahead and activate yours, Aaron?
That's fine.
Well, Jeff, do you still have 1 more activation? Or
I
one
do.
more
I've
action
got 1
point?
more turn.
With your
should do
brute.
that
With
then.
my brood.
So all you can do is move though.
You can't move and attack, right?
Nope, not unless you're DeMarco.
No, not DeMarco. So you can't do anything.
The
Swashbuckler.
blade dancer.
So yeah, I guess I should probably just stay there so that
dancer.
I'm not close where they can't attack me
Sorry,
unless
Mike.
you move, right?
Oh, you're fine.
If
No,
I'm next
singing.
to you, then you can
Usually
attack.
don't like me
Right.
singing
So I don't
during
know.
the
it's,
Okay.
no, it's okay.
Right. And then I'm
I don't
gonna
mind. I'm
upgrade-
dead. Both my characters are
see
dead
what
right now.
this
So
one is.
I really don't
Okay,
even
they're
have a voice.
KO'd.
They're just taking a break.
Taking a nap.
Plus 1 damage
all right.
for every 2 damage.
Do you want to do crew next, or you're waiting for crew, right?
I can do them whenever.
If you move crew, I can't.
This is an awful busy world.
I'll move crew that will push us forward and be on the plank there instead of letting them move forward first. Jeff, if you're done,
He's still not done.
So I'm gonna spend 4 for this
He
one.
can't do anything else on the board.
Give me 2 gold back. I'm spending
Are you
4.
gonna move, dude, or are you done?
I'm
No, he's
done.
not moving.
I'm done.
Are you healing?
No.
all right.
No.
and we are
But
out
what I
of
did was I
crew
just
put out.
turned this over to level 2.
So let's go ahead and fill 2 crew and a bosun on the far spawn point. And we'll do 2 crew and a bosun here. And we have to move first. I keep it. That's all right.
Oh, I should have moved back that way. I
And
forgot
isn't
that's
it
where
2
they
crew
spawn.
on each spawn?
We
point?
don't have enough.
Oh,
We're out.
If I would have moved over there, they can't move that direction. They can only go in and over.
Now, when the crew kills and empties a quadrant, they actually get the free move into that empty quadrant, but they can't attack.
Oh, he can't attack from there?
No, what he's going to do is those crew on the gangplank are going to kill our 2 little guys.
Okay.
This is like Taken, the movie. You will be taken. They're going to kill, and then they're going to move up 1.
Okay.
So I need 5 dice, please. And I'll do that middle battle first.
so how does that work?
How does
You're just rolling and attacking, right?
I'm rolling? I'm attacking from here to there.
Okay.
So I'm gonna hopefully 2 hits. We have at least 2 hits. So these guys go away, and these guys surge.
Is that what happens? Like
Sergio.
Sergio Mendez for you.
But they don't
80s
attack
music
again.
fans.
Okay.
These guys have both moved. There's nothing to attack, so we'll move to this one over here.
Yeah, he's a
Okay,
3
we're gonna
here.
try
He's a
to
2.
hit these two guys before they
why
do
would
any more
the-
damage on our ship. Maybe.
As long as you haven't moved her, then your range is increased by 1 and your hit goes down by 1.
So
2 hits.
I got 2 hits.
On
On these
There's
guys.
2 guys.
Crew?
So
So is that 2 more gold?
You've got 1 action left.
yes,
we've cleared our deck of these dastardly deeds.
Do you need gold, Tim?
I have
2.
1,
You've got a range of 3. I want to
but
say.
your gold
yeah,
stays
I'm
with your
gonna go
character.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
Alright, so then I'm gonna go after this guy.
Yep.
With who?
What's your range?
3. Because he did
Oh,
not
because
move.
you upgraded.
And he did not move. As long as he doesn't move, you get.
And I got
So you're gonna fire your little gun on
Yeah.
this guy here.
that's
3 hits?
3 hits.
Are you hit 2 or greater?
2 or greater with
Wow.
because he didn't move.
Nice.
A +1 range, +1 to hit.
Nice.
And it's a 3 or better to hit.
Still alive.
Nicely done.
The Kraken came in on that last
I'd like to
turn
get some cash.
and basically took out the guys that were here on this plank and 3 out of the 4 guys that were
The
on
problem is
that
our
plank.
crew are really
Now the Kraken's going to attack each turn instead of us
if we
doing a
can get
Kraken
2 more
check.
coins,
And
So these are gonna move
we'll
and
get
they'll
to
attack. That
roll
one's
the
gonna move
dice
attack.
to see what he
These
does.
are going to move, but not attack.
This is what he does. On a 1, 2, or 3, he's going to target all
attack
zones
the,
in range, and his range is
this
1.
guy.
He's going to roll 6 dice and hit on a 3 or better. If it
So
is
we
a
get
4, 5, or
2
6,
attacks
he's
on
going
it?
to do the tentacle crush attack. And then he's got the Fury of the Locker,
Steal some mana.
which is after any activation in which the Kraken was damaged. So anybody attacks him, the Kraken's going to fight back. So just heed that warning, sailors.
So now
What's
I can
that person's
move
name? I
and
forgot.
attack in the
This
same
person-
turn.
Carrie and Carl.
Carria, Carl.
Yeah, because
Area.
they got
Area
the
and Carl.
they got that little gun. They're going to attack this guy who has 1 health left. They only need
Alright, 1 health
a
left?
2 or better,
Is
right?
Michael rolling? Oh.
Yeah.
Michael,
You're fine.
roll
rolling
your
my
boat
boat
ashore.
Bam!
1, 2, 3.
That guy's dead.
He hasn't activated, so it's good.
That's okay. That gives us a victory point and that puts us at 8.
You win. The end.
I want my gold, damn it!
So the
I want
Deep
my gold
Lords
money now!
won. So that was cool.
Someone call JJ.
All right. So once we finished up our game, then we kind of did a little round table to collect everybody's thoughts on that. So let's give a listen to what my gaming buddies think. Okay, we're going to start over here with Chris. Chris was were you the captain of the
I was not
Sea
the
of Death?
captain. I just was the one that went over rules for people.
So what'd you think?
So it's something I would play again. We played with 6 players this afternoon, and I think there's too much downtime at 6 players. It's made to be a 2-player game, so I think at 2 players I would play it again. Probably not something I feel necessary to buy. It's something that I probably wouldn't ask for, but I would be up for playing if somebody else was interested in playing it.
Well, and we've kind of played it with 2 and 3 and 4.
We have. I definitely like it more at 2. And for pirate-themed games, it's good that way. The minis are nice to look at. The upgrade actions of the crew is nice. The counters are easy to manage, so you can keep track of the damage that's been dealt. And you know, there's something nice about chucking a bunch of dice. So from that aspect, I enjoyed that part of it. I would definitely play again at 2-player.
Cool. Dwight, what'd you think?
It reminded me a lot of Descent and Imperial Assault. I mean, really a pirate-themed Descent and Imperial Assault for me, which are okay. I'm not a mini combat game or a tactical combat guy, so it's not my favorite genre, but as those in that genre, it's good. I mean, there's a lot of choices, lots of different things to do. I just wish I didn't have to roll dice to be successful.
Yeah, you're not. Dice hate you.
They just- yeah. So that was difficult for me, but it's neat.
But you killed the sea dragon.
It's fun to look at. The art is really good.
Chris killed the sea dragon.
Yeah.
Oh, Chris killed
I
the sea
did with
even-
the deck gun.
I did very little of use in this game, but it's really nice to look at. It's good. good production quality.
Sure.
Aaron,
No,
what do you
I
think?
agree.
The Yellow
boring.
Meeple.
Well, yeah, Yellow Meeple gaming. Huzzah. So it's with 6 players. This is pretty boring. I played a little bit with 3 players. That was better. But like most tactical war games, it's just so-so for me. I agree. It looks beautiful. I like the theme. Pirates are always good. But yeah, it feels a little imbalanced when you can pull out a sea monster card on the first round, second round, and then
Getting a free extra hero is pretty powerful.
yeah, that's crazy big. So that feels a little unbalanced.
Anything to do that.
No, it doesn't cost them anything. So yeah, it feels a little unbalanced that way. But it's a cool game. It looks cool. Again, I wouldn't buy it. If someone said, "Hey, but we want to play this with 2 people," I would say yes.
What about with 4? 2 on 2, no?
No.
Too much downtime then?
Too much downtime.
Okay. Michael, what'd you think?
I'm in the same boat. I think it's beautiful. That was unintentional.
We're all in the same boat, Captain.
Oh god.
It's beautiful. I like the minis. I think as a 2-player, it probably plays much better. A lot of downtime. I felt like my child as I'm on my phone in between turns waiting for stuff, and I didn't miss out on anything. And normally when I play games, I have a no phone policy. I need you in the game strategizing. You didn't need to do it. The action stuff, we got to 5 victory points. They're at 2, and they were done. Like, we're not gonna come back.
Oh, we tried.
You tried, but it was.
Yeah,
You didn't
finally.
feel as if you had a chance to come back from it, and it's just like, let's just be done. And I don't like games that you feel you're done and you're only halfway through it.
True.
I think I'd like to try as a 2-player. I wouldn't buy it, but I would play it again as a 2-player.
Okay. So about a week ago, I was able to play this game with my buddy James, who is the only one I know that has actually played the first edition of Rum and Bones. So I asked James to give me his thoughts on the differences between the 2 versions. He says he likes the turn structure. The now I go, then you go turn structure almost removes any downtime and keeps the inactive player interested. He talks about the coins, and he says, I personally like the feeling of leveling up my heroes. My heroes are now more powerful, and I want to try out their newly acquired skill. The reason I didn't say that the turn structure completely removes downtime is the new design was spending coins for leveling up characters to gain new attacks. He says, previously your hero came with all attacks unlocked, and you use coins to perform usually stronger attacks. However, some downtime will occur as new players to Rum and Bones Second Tide will have to review their hero's new skills and decide which one to buy. If that player is only responsible for a hero or 2, say in a 4-player game, then this time is negligible. With someone new in a 2-player game, they will need time to review their hero skills one by one. Another minor change that adds to the minimizing of downtime is each side now rolls for the Kraken compared to the player whose turn it was, rolling both dice at the end of their turn. Each player now rolls 1 die, and there's just a second of tension as both players look at their rolls, add up their points. Did we unleash the Kraken? As compared to, did I unleash the Kraken? He said the old system is pretty demoralizing to build up a bunch of money on a hero only to have it taken away when your hero was KO'd. So he likes that ability that you get to keep your money. If it was a double hit, not only was your hero down for a turn, when they came back in, they were less powerful, leading to a couple of turns of having to rebuild them, hoping they don't get KO'd again. The track for the Kraken points, or the Kraken pool, along with the victory points, was much needed, although it can suffer from accidental bumping. And then his final thoughts were, overall, he really liked the streamlining of the turn structure and other rule modifications. He will definitely pick up the upgrade kit for the first edition to align to second edition's rules when it comes out. He says it's a great dice chucking, beer and pretzel type of game. Also a quick mention that I felt that multiplayer was better in the second edition. It felt more baked in and not bolted onto. So that was James' thoughts. Now let's get to Dad's thoughts. Dad really likes pirate games. In fact, my buddy Dwiggy just referred to me as one of those crazy cat lady types when it comes to pirate games. I gravitate towards pirate games. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because I love pirate movies. I love the adventures that the stories tell in those pirate movies. Whatever it is, I really like pirate stuff. So let's just talk about the minis right off, since this is a cool mini or not game. I think the minis are excellent. I love the fact that they are very detailed, as far as here you can see this guy's bones, and you can see all the little parts on him. The swords and everything look really cool. You can see all the attention to detail on like his these dorsal fins, or whatever the heck they are, look really cool. The only thing that I would do different is I would have actually had these maybe painted, and I guess they don't have them painted. They have them just as different colors. So that's easy to tell them apart. Or if you wanted to paint, you could paint. I can't paint because I can't see very well to do that kind of thing, so I don't do that. But the hero sculpts are really cool. I already showed you kind of a close-up of Ishmael. Like I said, it's very good detail on all that. I would hate to ruin it by trying to paint. It just would have been really cool if they were already done that way, but that is a very minor thing. The actual crew tokens, and I'll just show, here are the Deep Lords. They come in this big case. The detail on these, like here's the bosuns, look really neat. These guys, all the deckhands and everything, remind me of Army men when I was a kid. You've got the different types here, which, they could have had them all the same type, and the bosuns could have just had a different base, and that probably would have been okay too. But you've got, for each of the factions, you have the bosuns are different, and then you've got 3 different type of crew minis. So these look really sharp. And like when I was playing Army Men, you always had, the guy laying down, and you had the guy on the radio, and the bazooka guy, and all that. So that really reminds me of playing with my Army Men, as a kid, and now as an adult, I can play with these minis. So that is the Deep Lords, and I'll show you the Maria de la Muerta crew. So you can see here is their bosun. Again, really cool detail there. And then their deckhands. Whoops. And I probably showed these off in our unboxing too, but just like the flare of the back of his coat there, just looks really sharp. And this guy here, I think he's got a pair of scissors and a sword, so he's going to give him a shave and a haircut. 2 bits. And then this guy here looks really cool. I like the player cards, and the fact that you can now level these up. Here's your basic attack, but pay 3 coins, and now I can upgrade that. They do slide because they're, there's no friction really to hold them in place. I don't know how you would have done that other than to make this maybe a thicker piece of cardboard that had grooves or something, but that's very minor. But as you can see, they do slide around quite a bit. The art on the cards is very colorful. They match the mini, so it's real easy to tell which one you've got. Now, the game also does come with colored bases. You can put these on the players, and so that way you can immediately tell which team is which, because I do know when we first started off, some of the players were not looking so much at the detail of the minis, and they were looking at the color. And each team has one of each of the 5 colors, and those represent, like the Brute is green, and as some person pointed out, it's like the Hulk. So the Brute on both sides are green, but if you got the colored bases on there, then you can really quickly tell which is which. I think the gameplay is really good. Like James mentioned in his review, the turn-based, where I go, then you go, it does keep the game flowing. Players whose turn it is not, if you're playing with more than 2, they can suffer a little bit of downtime when they're not taking their turn. But and let's talk about that right now. Really, the first Rum and Bones was a 2-player game. This, for all intent and purposes, is a 2-player game. You're just spreading things out a little bit more. Other players have more input because they're controlling characters. But ultimately, I think this shines best still as a two-player game. Uh, in fact, I think my buddy Chris had mentioned it that that's what he liked it as the best because there really isn't any downtime. You take a turn, I take a turn, and then it's back, back and forth. So you're constantly in there. You're not waiting because I took a turn and then somebody else on the other team, they took their turn, comes back here, and let's say player X is taking his turn on my team, but player Y is not all that engaged, and he could get a little boring. I think Michael pointed that out during his review. But overall, I think the gameplay is really easy. It's the rule book. There's a lot of things you need to know, and it goes into the detail. How you spawn, how the crew moves, how you do your rigging, and that sort of thing. And yes, you do need to read through all that. In fact, the first time Chris and I sat down, we spent an hour just going through the setup and reading the rules. But by the time we played our second game, we knew what we needed to do. Play went a lot faster, even though we had more players then. And then you saw in our 6-player game, play really moved fairly fast too. I mean, we completed that game in an hour and a half. So it doesn't take that long, really. I mean, compared to what you think it might be, with all the minis and everything, this game could be very overwhelming. And it's a game I think you're going to have to ease people in a little bit because of that intimidation factor. But I think once they can give it a try, I think they'll find that really their choices are not that difficult. They can, figure out what they need to do fairly quickly. And then it becomes, more into your strategy. Do you go for, trying to eliminate the objectives on the ships? Do you try to eliminate all their crew? Do you try to get all your guys in an area where you can just land massive attacks? Going back to the components, I think the components are really good. I had mentioned the artwork is really cool, but the tiles are nice and thick. Those are nice. The same with all of the different tokens. And there's a lot of tokens to deal with here. So there's a lot of different art on all of these. So this is, pretty cool. I showed all this off in the unboxing, so if you want to get a better look at all that, you might want to check that video out. The stock is maybe a little bit more flimsy than I like, but again, that's a very minor thing. Same with the little player cards, but the text on these cards is very easy to read. So that is a plus in my book with having the smaller cards. The scoreboard and the Kraken pool here, this is kind of flimsy. It would have been nice to have this more as another thicker board. Don't know if it needs to be as thick as the ship boards, but probably as thick as, say, the Kraken board, which it's pretty nice here. Nice and thick. So I would have liked to have seen that board about the same as that. The box insert is fairly good. All the boards fit and cards fit into places really good. The only thing that I've noticed is that these little hero upgrade cards, they seem to pop out of their spots when the game is being moved in transit. Everything else has stayed where it's at. Try to figure maybe something to put on top of that to keep those from popping out. But those are the only things that have ever really had any issue during transit. I do know that there are upgrade packs that you can buy if you have the first edition, so you want to get that if you want to play with the second edition rules and so forth. I think there's also different dice sets that you can buy so that each faction could have their own customized dice. In fact, when I played with Chris, he blings his games out completely, and so he had a couple of other really cool dice. He had some red dice, he had some blue dice, so we were kind of using those for the different teams. But you can go and you can bling this game out a little bit more if you want. He also had some metal coins to replace the cardboard coins that come with the game. There's nothing wrong with these, but his were the big metal kind, so that was just kind of neat. It added a little bit more flavor to the game. And this is a game where I think you do want to kind of embrace that. You want to kind of be in the spirit of pirates, because this is a huge pirate battle, on multiple ship decks. And just get into it, and I think you'll enjoy it a lot more. There's a ton of replayability because you've got different strategies that you can try. You can try to go for, hey, I'm just going to concentrate on eliminating their heroes to get points, or I am going to concentrate just on trying to upgrade my players' abilities so that I can do things faster. So I'm going for the gold by killing off a lot of the crew, or you're going for the different objectives. And the rule book actually shows multiple setups that you can do in order to change your game up a bit. I'll show those to you here real quick. So there's a whole section here on the alternate layouts, and it talks about has different graphics for the ships. So I don't know if that is graphics from the first edition, or if that's graphics from, or the boards from expansion packs, or just what, because these boards are not double-sided. If you look at the backs, they are just a plain black backing. Nothing wrong with that. The boards themselves, they are very cool. Like I said, they're very thick. I love the art on them. They, for the most part, they lay very flat, so I don't have to worry about the boards bubbling up where the seams are at, so that's pretty good. So overall, my thoughts are I really enjoy this game. I think when I get around to playing this with Megan, if I can convince her to play, she'll be intimidated at the beginning because of all the minis and such. But I think if she gives it a chance and she learns how to play, I actually think she'll probably kick my butt. But don't tell her that, because she always kicks my butt at games, and she doesn't need any more incentive to do that, or any gloating power. So no, I really like the game. I like all the components, a couple little things I could have done, but everything really is great on this. I'm glad I have it. My friends, now that they know that I have it, if I want to play one-on-one or maybe two-on-two, I'll be the one to bring it, and that's okay too. So I give this game 2 thumbs up. Looking forward to even maybe playing it on Play Like a Pirate Day, which is coming up on Saturday, September 16th of 2017. So that'll do it, and I will catch you guys next time. If you would like to support us, you can visit patreon.com/dadvdaughter.
Like and follow us on Facebook to stay current on our show schedule, sneak peeks at future shows, and to interact with us.